Chapter 2.6 In His Nature. With Jimbo gone, it was time for Tobias to snoop. "All right, girl," Tobias whispered to Alpha. "What you find?" Alpha's tail wagged, and she immediately went back to the wooden wall where she sniffed. She pressed her damp, black nose to the ground, running it along the seam where the floor met the wall, pacing back and forth. Meanwhile, Tobias got up and searched through Jimbo's kitchen. No tech meant no refrigerator, which meant all Jimbo had was an assortment of spiked and twisted nuts, unidentifiable purple and green berries, and other strange vegetables that looked like they could kill you. "Come on, Jimbo. Where are you hiding the good stuff?" Alpha stopped at a spot, sniffed faster and harder, louder and heavier, until she was sure this was it. She clawed at the dirt floor where it met the wall, at first digging with one paw to inspect it, and then going 2 paws deep and flinging dirt behind her. "Ah, there it is," Tobias said, moving wooden cups to reveal dried jerky hidden in a secret jar. He took a bite and was impressed. It wasn't half bad. "Even living with Ludat vegetarians, you can't give things up, can you, Jimbo?" Tobias stuffed a few jerky strips in his pocket and turned to see Alpha at the wall with a pile of dirt behind her. He whistled, and Alpha immediately turned, her tail pointed high in the air and her white snout covered with dirt. She panted with a wide grin from ear to ear. "Good girl, Alpha," Tobias said, pulling a strip of jerky out from his pocket. "Come here," he said, crouching low so she'd approach. She came, and as he raised his hand, she sat, chest tall, and waited patiently for his next command. "Aw, what'd you do to your face, girl?" he said, wiping her snout with his hand to shake out the loose dirt. "We gotta clean you up." He grabbed a rag from Jimbo's kitchen, wiped away Alpha's dirt stains, and tossed the rag to the side without care. "There you go. Much better," Tobias said, then offered Alpha the treat. She snatched it from him, and Tobias scratched behind her ears. "Thanks for playing along with Jimbo, girl." Tobias stood up, looked at the hole Alpha dug, and saw that beneath the wall was a seam. "Well, what'd you find here?" Tobias walked to it, reached his hand into the hole, and felt along its underside until he felt a metallic ring and button. "Well, hello," he said, pressed it, and immediately heard a pneumatic separation of the wood wall that was in front of them. A seam appeared between what looked like a flush wall, and each half slid open, revealing Jimbo's real room. It was as antithetical to nature as it could get. The walls were lined with shining, glistening, stainless steel. A wall of Jimbo's monitors were at the other end. From floor to ceiling were camera feeds that watched every inch of the town, from the square to the outside of Jimbo's home, to the forest outside and the atmosphere above. Even from a distance, Tobias saw that Jimbo had a camera on the junk dog, waiting outside of orbit. "Ah, yeah, you had a feeling I was coming, right, Jimbo?" Tobias whispered to himself. It reminded Tobias. He had to get back to the junk dog. He told Retta to wait for him there. He could already tell that girl was the restless type. He needed to make this quick before she did something reckless. He crouched down to the ground, picked up a handful of dirt, and threw a cloud of dust into Jimbo's panic room. Immediately, he saw invisible laser strips cutting through thin air. Tobias expected as much from a paranoid voyeur like Jimbo. He whistled, and Alpha ran forward, leaping between the 2 sets of lasers as Tobias crouched low, weaved his body through, and entered Jimbo's monitor room. "All right, you creep. What info you got on the 6? Tobias whispered to himself as he went through Jimbo's systems. Within a few clicks, Tobias was able to find Jimbo's messages, with the most notable being from Luca. "Jimbo, a pleasure working with you," Tobias read aloud, and almost gagged as the words left his mouth. He knew Luca hated Jimbo, but also knew Jimbo was easily persuaded by flattery. After Callisto, long time locked up, everyone separated. Yeah, come on, get to the point, Tobias said, skimming through the wall of text until something very specific caught Tobias's eye. Money signs. Consider this in advance, Luca wrote. Tobias squinted to confirm the ludicrous number of zeros at the end. And there's much more to come once you find that baton. That relic Jimbo's hunting for is Red Stick, Tobias thought. And of course, his pair had to be Luca. Tobias looked at Jimbo's advance again and was shocked how much money Luca was willing to drop. That's a lot of money, Tobias thought, thinking about Retta waiting in the junk dog for him. A lot of easy money. Tobias closed out the window, but struggled to drop the thought. He shook his head to focus on what he was really here for. Leads on the Vicious Six. Alright, money signs aside. If Jimbo's been watching us, then that means... Tobias clicked through window after window on Jimbo's computer, and then, finally, bingo. It was one of Jimbo's classic star charts, marked with the most recent locations of the six. Tobias never understood Jimbo's obsession with them, but for the first time, it helped rather than hurt him. Tobias was glad he found it. It even had Tobias tracked, from his visit here, back to his pit stop on Earth, and even before. This'll be better in my hands than yours. Tobias pulled out an old, dusty link from his jacket pocket and wiped off the dirty screen with the palm of his hand. Hope you're charged, he muttered to himself, pressing his thumb against the power button and waiting. It stayed black. Alright, come on. I hate these damn things, Tobias said until the link finally turned on. There we go. He tapped the link to the computer, transferred Jimbo's data to the link, and leaned over to Alpha at his side to scratch her ears. Alright, girl, let's get out of here. She wagged her tail and jumped back through the lasers as Tobias followed behind. And behind him, unseen as Tobias left, was a camera fixed on the temple where Retta and Zoto had just appeared, and Jimbo had come on screen.